My name is Mark. I thought I had a family, not a perfect one. Not even close. But it was mine. I married Julia when I was 33. She had a 3-year-old son from a previous relationship, Alex. His father wasn't in the picture. Something vague about prison time and a restraining order. Julia didn't talk about it much, and I didn't ask. I stepped in, I changed diapers, read bedtime stories, sat through ear-splitting school concerts and taught him how to ride a bike. We became a team, the 3 of us, family photos, Christmas cards, Sunday pancake mornings, the works. When Alex was 6, he started calling me Dad. I didn't ask for it. He just did. And I cried in the bathroom afterward, quietly, so no one would see. By then, Julia and I had bought a house together, small but cozy. We painted the kitchen blue, got a dog, laughed a lot, or at least I thought we did. Fast forward to last year. Things were tense. Julia was distant, short with me, always on her phone. I thought it was burnout, parenting, work, bills. We were tired, we'd get through it, until one night she blurted it out during an argument over something stupid like groceries. "You're not even his real dad, you're just the stepdad." I don't remember what I said after that. I just remember the silence, the kind that follows something unforgivable. She didn't apologize, didn't take it back. That sentence cracked something in me. I started sleeping on the couch. We barely spoke. Alex noticed. He'd ask, "Are you mad at Mom?" I'd smile and say, "No, buddy. Grown-ups just get grumpy sometimes." I was holding it together for him. Because he was my son, paper or no paper. Biology be damned. Then one morning, Julia sat me down and told me she wanted a separation. "It's not working," she said flatly. "And I think it's best if you move out. Alex is confused." Confused? He wasn't the only one. I moved into a friend's spare room, took only a duffel bag and my tools, left the rest, furniture, memories, photographs, behind. And that's when the second blow hit me. A few weeks later, I got a letter from a law office. It was about my father, the man I hadn't spoken to in almost a decade. He'd died and left something for me. I didn't believe it at first. We hadn't been close. He remarried late in life. His new wife didn't like me much. We had a falling out after my mom passed, and I figured I was written off. But apparently he'd written me in. The letter said I needed to come in to discuss estate matters. I showed up expecting maybe a watch, a box of tools, some old coins. What I got was a revelation. My father had owned property, stocks, land, a trust fund that was supposed to be unlocked when I turned 40. He never told me. The lawyer looked surprised. "You didn't know?" Number I didn't, and suddenly I wasn't the broke stepdad Julia had dismissed. I was a man with options, and for the first time in a long time, I had the upper hand. I didn't want revenge. I wanted the truth. Because if Julia saw me as expendable, not just the stepdad, maybe that said more about her than me. And maybe it was time she saw what I'd really been carrying all along. The first thing I did with the money was nothing. No wild purchases, no flashy upgrades. I sat with it. I let the knowledge settle in. Because this wasn't just money. It was a reminder that I had worth, even if the people closest to me had forgotten. Julia didn't know, and I didn't tell her. Not yet. Instead, I spent the following weeks untangling my life from hers. I hired a lawyer. A quiet, brilliant woman named Amanda who asked very few questions but had answers for everything. We started paperwork, division of assets, property, custody agreements. Yes, custody. Because even though I wasn't Alex's biological father, I had been raising him for nearly 7 years. I'd been there for every birthday, every doctor's visit, every nightmare. I wasn't going to walk away quietly just because Julia had changed her mind about me. Amanda warned me it would be hard, that the courts tend to default to biology. But she also said precedent existed. And more importantly, I had character witnesses, teachers, neighbors. Even Julia's sister, who told me in private she didn't understand what Julia was doing. "I've never seen a kid light up the way Alex does when you're around," she said once. "She's going to regret this." Meanwhile, Julia was busy playing the victim, She told mutual friends I'd abandoned them, that I left without trying, that I wasn't really ready to be a dad anyway. It stung, but I didn't bite back. I stayed quiet, focused. I let my actions speak louder. And while all this was happening, I began something else. I took a small portion of the trust, just enough, and bought a small property an hour outside the city. Nothing fancy, a fixer-upper. It had good bones and a view of the hills. It reminded me of something my dad once said when I was a teenager and angry at the world. When you can't fix people, fix things. You'll understand that someday. I understood now. Every weekend, I drove out there, replaced tiles, sanded floors, fixed plumbing. I patched walls and repaired the roof. I rebuilt something physical while I tried to rebuild something internal. It became a rhythm. Court filings on weekdays, construction on weekends, therapy on Tuesdays. I had purpose again. But what I didn't expect was the letter. It arrived in a white envelope with crayon scribbles on the front. Inside was a piece of folded notebook paper, a child's handwriting. Dear Dad, I miss you. Mommy said you're not coming back. But I hope you do. I saved the Lego guy you gave me. He's still in my backpack. Love, Alex. I read it sitting in my car, parked in front of the courthouse. And I cried, because for all the legal motions, all the money, all the logic, that was what it came down to. Love. He still called me Dad, and no matter what Julia said, that meant something. So I told Amanda I wanted to fight, not for revenge, not to hurt Julia, but because Alex deserved someone who wouldn't disappear just because it got hard. And I wasn't going anywhere. The legal battle took months. Custody cases are rarely simple, but when you're not the biological parent, the burden of proof becomes a mountain. Amanda explained this early on. We're not just proving you're a good father, Mark. We're proving that walking away from you would harm Alex more than anything. So we gathered everything. Photos, videos, report cards signed with Dad, birthday cards with stick figures labeled Me and Daddy. I gave character statements from teachers, doctors, even the soccer coach. Amanda was relentless, calm, focused, brilliant. Julia, on the other hand, didn't take it well. She'd expected me to vanish, to disappear into the background like some ex-boyfriend who overplayed his role. She hadn't expected me to fight, and certainly not with legal strength and financial backing she hadn't known I had. The day she learned about the inheritance was the first time she called me directly in months. You're using your dead father's money to attack me, she hissed. I didn't rise to it. I just said, I'm using what I have to protect what matters. Alex, that was the core of everything, because even with lawyers and paperwork and strategy, at night, when the world quieted, all I wanted was to be able to say goodnight to my son without feeling like an intruder. The court ordered a temporary visitation schedule while the case was pending, every other weekend, supervised at first. Julia insisted I be observed. I didn't argue, because I knew the truth would show in time, and it did. By the third visit, the court-appointed supervisor filed a note. Alex appears deeply bonded with Mr. Carter. Child refers to him naturally as Dad. Strong affection observed. That note became evidence. So did the drawing Alex made of My House with Daddy. But what struck the judge the most, according to Amanda, was a single incident. During one visit, as I was reading to Alex from his favorite dinosaur book, he stopped me mid-sentence and said, You smell like pancakes again. I laughed. What do pancakes smell like? He shrugged. You. Home. The supervisor noted that too. Julia tried to claim I'd manipulated him, but the court didn't buy it. The evidence of our bond was overwhelming. She tried to pull back, threatened to cut off access entirely, but at that point, the court issued a firm warning. Any obstruction could cost her primary custody. And then, almost 8 months in, it happened. Shared custody. Not full, but meaningful. Legal recognition that I was a parent despite no blood. When Amanda handed me the ruling, she said quietly, You just helped a lot of other stepdads out there, you know? I nodded. But I wasn't thinking about precedent. I was thinking about pancakes. That weekend, Alex came over for his first full overnight. We made a mess in the kitchen, burned half the batter. The dog knocked over a chair. And as we sat at the table laughing with syrup-stained hands, he looked up and said, I missed this. I said, "Me too, buddy." And for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel like I was trying to prove something. I just felt like a dad. Because I was. The fourth part of this journey didn't come with fireworks or dramatic reversals. It came in the form of quiet routines slowly rebuilding themselves. Not just for me, but for Alex, too. After the court ruling, we fell into a rhythm. Alternate weekends, Tuesday dinners, occasional phone calls. Alex would send me voice messages asking about homework or to tell me that he beat a level in his video game. They were small things, but they meant the world. Julia kept her distance. We coordinated everything through a shared calendar app and occasional short emails, civil, cold, and efficient. I didn't mind. The less noise, the better. Meanwhile, the house I'd bought, the fixer-upper outside the city, Sabashais, was finally coming together. What had started as therapy by hammer had turned into a home. I turned the attic into a reading nook, painted the front door bright red because Alex once said red was his superhero color. I even built a swing set in the backyard just in case he ever stayed longer. One Friday evening, Julia called me, rare enough that it made me freeze. "I'm going away for a week," she said. "Work trip. Can you take Alex full-time while I'm gone?" "Yes," I said without hesitation. She gave me the details, then paused. "He's been asking to stay more, just so you know." I said nothing. The next week was bliss, messy, chaotic bliss, school drop-offs, bedtime stories, spilled juice, late-night movie marathons. One night, Alex asked if he could sleep in my bed like when he was little. I said sure. He curled up next to me and whispered, "I like it here better." I didn't ask what he meant. I didn't need to. At the end of the week, when Julia came to pick him up, she lingered on the porch. She looked around the house, taking it all in. The swing, the flower pots, the small bike leaning against the wall. "You built all this?" she asked. I nodded. She didn't say much more, just thanked me and left. But her expression stayed with me, part regret, part respect. Maybe for the first time, she saw what I'd become without her. Later that month, I got a letter in the mail, not from Julia, from Alex's school. They were nominating me for a local Parent of the Year award. Apparently, Alex had written an essay titled, "Why My Dad is a Hero." He'd written about the time I stayed up all night building a Lego castle with him, how I cheered the loudest at his soccer game, and how I made the best pancakes because they have blueberries and love in them. I sat with that letter for a long time. It didn't matter what title I had legally. In his eyes, I was Dad. No prefix, no asterisk. That weekend, I framed his essay and hung it in the hallway, right next to the front door, where everyone could see it when they came in, because that's what mattered, not what I'd lost, but what I'd kept. The fifth part of the story began quietly, but underneath something was shifting. It started with a message. Julia emailed me out of the blue. "I need to talk in person." We hadn't spoken face-to-face in months. My first instinct was suspicion, but I agreed. We met at a quiet cafe, neutral ground. She looked tired, not physically, but emotionally, like someone who'd been holding too many lies for too long. "I've been thinking a lot," she began, eyes down, "about everything." I waited. She told me she'd been wrong, not about the separation. She still believed we weren't good as partners, but about the way she'd handled things, about what she said to me, about Alex. "I was angry," she said. "Scared, too. I thought if I cut you out fast, clean, I'd have control, but I didn't think about what it would do to him." I said nothing. "I want to try something," she continued. "Co-parenting for real, not just court-ordered. I want us to raise him together, separately, but together. You're his dad, Mark. He loves you. And whether I like it or not, that's the truth." It was a strange kind of peace offering, but it wasn't empty. In the weeks that followed, things changed. Slowly. Julia invited me to school events. We stood on opposite ends of the classroom, awkward but present. We agreed on bedtime routines, discipline rules, screen time limits. We started acting like a team again, not as a couple, but as parents. And Alex noticed. He smiled more, laughed louder. He didn't ask so often if I was coming back to live with Mommy. That part was over, and he was starting to understand. I kept working on the house. Now, Alex had his own room. superhero posters, a lava lamp, and shelves full of Lego builds. He started leaving clothes there, books, drawings. It became a second home that slowly stopped feeling like the second one. One night, I picked him up from Julia's, and as we were driving, he said, "You know what I like best about your house?" "What?" "It feels like no one's pretending." I almost pulled over. He was right. Julia had spent so long keeping up appearances, a perfect family, perfect image. I had gone along with it, trying to belong, but in my house things were imperfect, but real. Pancakes burned, laundry piled up. But the love was never forced. He saw that, and he chose it. One afternoon, Julia asked if we could all go out for lunch, the three of us. No agenda, just lunch. We sat in a booth at a local diner, Alex between us, chattering about dinosaurs and video games. Julia and I listened, passed the ketchup, laughed at his jokes. It was strange and bittersweet, like looking at a photograph from another life, but knowing it could never be recreated. When we said goodbye, Julia pulled me aside. "He's lucky to have you," she said. "I don't think I ever told you that." I nodded. "He's lucky to have us." Later that evening, I sat on my porch, watching the sun set behind the hills. The swing creaked in the breeze. Inside, Alex was building something with Lego, and the dog snored at his feet. It wasn't the life I'd planned, but maybe it was the one I was meant to live. Not everyone gets a second chance at family. I did, and this time, I wasn't letting go. The final part of this story didn't come with a dramatic ending. No courtroom gasps, no sudden reversals. Just life, unfolding the way it does when you've weathered a storm and are learning to live in the calm that follows. Alex was 9 when the judge finalized the shared custody agreement into something more permanent. It gave us flexibility, real co-parenting. No more supervised visits, no more tense exchanges at parking lots. Just calendars, communication, and trust. However fragile, it still was between me and Julia. Alex started spending longer weekends with me. Holidays became shared affairs. Julia and I rotated Christmas mornings and Thanksgiving dinners. It wasn't perfect, but it worked. And something else happened, something I hadn't expected. Alex started telling people about me. Not just calling me Dad at school or with friends, but introducing me. "This is my dad. He's not my real dad, like the DNA kind, but he's my real dad anyway." And nobody corrected him. Not even Julia. One Saturday, Alex and I were cleaning out the garage when he found an old box. Inside were photos from the early years. Birthday parties, Halloween costumes, a beach trip we took when he was 5. In one of them, I was holding him on my shoulders, both of us laughing, completely unaware of the camera. He held it up and said, "I remember this day," I smiled. "You were afraid of the waves. But you held my hand," he said, "and I wasn't scared anymore." He set the photo aside and kept digging. I stood there for a moment, trying not to let the weight of his words crush me. I hadn't saved his life with some heroic act. I hadn't done anything spectacular. I'd just been there, through the little things, the boring days, the ordinary moments, and somehow that had been enough. A few months later, he brought home a school project, a poster titled "My Family Tree." At the top, he'd drawn Julia. Below her, he'd written his name in bold blue letters. And next to him, me. Just me. No asterisk, no explanation, just the word Dad. When I asked about it, he shrugged and said, "That's how I feel, so that's what I wrote." Julia saw it later that week. She didn't say much, but I noticed she left it hanging on her fridge longer than any of his other schoolwork. The house I had built slowly stopped being mine alone. It became ours. Alex had a drawer in the bathroom, a shelf in the pantry, a worn-out beanbag chair in the corner of the living room that the dog had claimed half of. He told me once, "I like how everything here has a place, like I do." And I realized, for the first time in years, that I felt the same. There's no neat ending to a story like this, just a man who showed up, a boy who loved him, and a life that neither of them expected, but both chose. If you had told me years ago that I'd find my greatest meaning not through blood but through choice, I might have laughed. But I'm not laughing now. I'm living it. Because being a father isn't about biology. It's about showing up. about holding a hand when the waves come, and never letting go.